out in Grisdale. Oh, here she is. Oh yeah, I'm with Rebecca Charlton, the most gorgeous presenter, host, what else are you? Woman of everything.
I didn't ask you to start by saying that, did I?
No, she didn't, but we're going with it anyway. The most gorgeous ever, yeah, cycling host, cyclist, author, or co-author, presenter, the lot. And here we are in the gorgeous Lake District. We're doing a nice loop around Grisdale, which is stunning. She's got me on the old gravel bike. Oi, oi.
I know, I arranged the whole thing and then said, you do have a gravel bike, don't you?
We do. And we're on some really nice trails. So very excited for, I think this is episode 5 of FEMME Matters, to dig into some great chat, hear about Rebecca's backstory, you know the drill, ask loads of questions, and yeah, ride around for a while. So let's kick off.
Let's do it.
Loving the kit. Do you want to talk about the kit?
Oh, shall we go straight in?
Shall we go straight in?
Okay, well, I am now in the 2nd trimester.
Hey!
So, yeah, it's not just loads and loads of pies this morning. That would have been a nice start to the day. Maybe not before that incline.
I know, please.
Quite a lot for quite a long time.
Flat ride, no.
It's not. I've stitched myself up. Talking of stitching, nice convenient segue. Veloween have made the first ever maternity kit, which is what I'm sporting today. And it's got loads of room for growth over the next few months.
Which is stunning. Congratulations to our girl. Looking
so much.
Absolutely heaven. And yeah, really nice kit, really nice gravel bike.
Oh, thank you. It is my Topstone Carbon Lefty 1 by Cannondale, and I've got to say, I know that you always say the current bike you're on is the best you've ever ridden, but it's absolutely incredible. And you know the best thing about it?
Go on.
I'm so slack. I haven't taken the extra spacers out from the last time I was pregnant, and my first child is now 2, and I've still got the spacers, so we don't even need to do any mechanical adjustments this time. It's great.
We're cruising. Between us, we've got one tiny track pump, so we're hoping we're going to get around okay. And that's it.
Tubeless will not fail us. It's going to be fine. Always my famous last words before I spray sealant everywhere.
I'm going to see if I can try and one-handed film and ride while we chat. If we come to any hills, you know you're going to be seeing gravel, so we'll just give it a go.
You've got this.
Let's go. Yeah, obviously we're in a new stage of life. I'm curious to go back into the archives. I want to know about your how it all began for you, your cycling past. How did you get into riding? What did you start off with? The whole lot. Let's go back.
Okay, so I started track racing when I was 7.
Yeah.
My dad ran the local Brighton track league at Preston Park. I absolutely fell in love with track.
Yeah.
As a family, we were racing track, cyclocross, mountain bike.
Amazing.
Every discipline as kids. My older brother, Alex, he was really good on the track. So we travel all around the country to Manchester Velodrome, Newport, and race. So I think track really did it for me. That's where the passion started. Yeah,
loving the thrill. God, to me, track seems really scary because obviously, you know, you're not stopping. The speed. It's a bit of riding that I've not actually tried, but it's I definitely want to give it a go.
I love it. I always think if as an adult you're nervous to try it. I think it's 3 laps, I reckon. Yeah. 3 laps, and you're like, I can forget about this spanking now, it's great. But I think what's massively kind of built my confidence was getting on the track so young. Yeah. Because I did go to very steep European tracks. Yeah. And they're just like complete walls of death. But when you're that young...
You're quite fearless, aren't you, when you're young?
Yeah, completely. And honestly, if I started now, I would have such a bigger fear factor than I did basically as sort of a 10-year-old at that point. Yeah. And my dad would say, all you need to do is keep your cadence up, get straight up to the top, you'll be fine.
Easy said than done, Dad.
Okay. But you believe, I think you believe. Yeah. And trust people at that age who are close to you. And so I think I didn't really think, oh, let's question that. I just got on and did it. And I think for me, it built so much resilience and confidence that I genuinely don't think I could have really built. Definitely not as quickly as an adult, for sure.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Don't you feel like as you get older, especially as a woman, right, where lots of things come into play in life, that sense of belief or self-belief slowly starts to like seep out of you. At least that's what I find anyway, especially with like the bike world.
I think it's changing, isn't it? I think we are seeing people, like, you switch sports so much later that you hadn't sort of obviously got on a bike competitively really young. So I do think it's happily changing, but we know we've got this big fight on our hands to stop girls leaving the sport during puberty. It's a lot to do with how we talk to girls and boys and how we talk about body image. And when I hit puberty, you know, I was I'm quite a natural sprinter on the track, so I've always had big legs. I've always been very powerful. And I've never been a climber. And going back to then, I mean, the comments were just, oh, you're bigger than the skinny boys. And I got used to that language for so long, always trying to be on a diet, you know, at the age of about 12.
Which is so unhealthy.
Not right when you're growing. And so I'm really, really keen to keep that narrative going, because it's so crucial that we don't lose the confidence of young people at that point in their life. Oh, are we left?
We are, we're left. We're left. Is it flat?
Oh, it's a hill!
Yay!
So yeah, I mean, growing up as a kid, I was constantly racing. I used to love racing Wednesday night track league, and I remember doing the first whole season and my parents saying, oh, we won't go to the track next week. I was like, why not? What the hell is this? And they were like, well, because it closes for the winter. And I was like, what?
Oh my god! So what did you do?
And that's how much I loved it. I did cyclocross. So racing every weekend as a whole family, all of us raced.
That is so nice. So nice that your family were in it. And then obviously, you know, I know you mentioned that a lot of your kind of school friends weren't into it, but did you kind of find your tribe, like, within the cycling world?
I'm laughing because, like, to this day, they'll occasionally, like, the Olympics are on at the moment. One of them will message me saying, could you please explain why everyone's holding hands on the track and what a Madison is. And that's like their level of interest to this day. They're all my best friends from school. I think they came and watched me race about once. I just didn't get it, but I think that is testament to where the sport is now. That it wasn't, I mean, the women's side wasn't televised anything like the extent it is. We barely had any coverage. So I don't think they knew anything about the sport, really.
But did you find many other, like, you know, good female friends? Have you made a solid crew in the cycling space?
Oh, now I have. When I was very young, I was crying out for other females. I only ever trained with the boys. Regionally, I was the only girl. I was the first and only youth girl to race the national championships when Manchester opened. I didn't know any other girls. And I longed for it. So for me now, like, to come riding with you, to meet so many people, to have so many other voices, not only in presenting, in commentary. Oh,
we've got a crew. Oi, oi. Sorry.
To have such a huge female network now, I genuinely pinch myself, and I really mean that.
That is beautiful.
Look at that.
Oi. We are back on an incline. We've literally just descended. But Rebecca's asked me to do an edit of all the bloopers where I'm having to hold the camera and drop it like, ah! And so after you finished racing, or not finished racing, what came next?
So I think a lot of people assume that I did bike racing and then I went into commentating and into the media world, but from a really young age, alongside the cycling, I'd always wanted to be a broadcaster.
Did you?
So I went to Bournemouth University, studied journalism, and did my NCTJ national qualification for news journalists. So kind of really qualified in the traditional sense.
Wicked.
And then
did you keep riding while you were studying, or had you kind of eased off by then?
I took my bike to university for the first year.
And how many times did you get it out?
My best friend from school, Amy, she got so annoyed that in the middle of the night I left the bike in the hallway and she was like, oh, those sharp pedals. I think I had like mountain bike pedals.
Yeah.
I had SPDs on my bike at the time. Because I hate whacking my shin on your stupid bike. She's like, if you're not going to ride it, you just take it out the hallway. And so in the second and third year, I basically didn't ride. And I'd like to say it was because I was studying so hard. But I think I enjoyed the social life a lot.
Gotta be done.
I'd had quite a lot of discipline growing up racing.
Yeah.
With nutrition and early starts and driving to races. And my dad sacrificed a lot to drive me up to Manchester to race at the weekends.
Yeah.
And so I didn't want to be like, oh, I went out last night. So I think when I was away at uni,
yeah,
I did a lot of things that I hadn't done to that extent in terms of just having that social freedom.
Oh, come on, freedom, baby. How many pot noodles and WKDs were going down then?
I mean, I think it was the cheesy chips.
Yeah, oh, the cheesy chips, yeah.
Really did it. And then basically, when I finished university and came home to my mum and dad's, and I was obviously looking for my first proper job in journalism, I obviously had a race licence, and I got a new race licence through in the post. Yeah. And basically, I think my dad had renewed my racing membership. Oh, bless him. Bless him. And he turned up and I was like, huh? And he was like, well, I paid like 90 quid or whatever it is for your BC race licence to be renewed, so you probably should race. Oh my God, and you're like, right. I know the psychology of that wouldn't have worked for everybody. Yeah. But he knew like I didn't feel great. I hadn't touched the bike. I had sort of given up something I loved. That got me straight back into it. Oh, I bet it all came flooding back after you'd kind of, you know, sweat out the cheesy chips. That's it, back to a bit of routine. And what was the other one? Snake bite. Oh, snake bite, yes. But she said it was going to be nice and flat. It's definitely not flat. There is. I've stitched myself up. You really have. Literally, we've had like a tiny descent, haven't we? Tiny little descent, but it's lovely. Come back to the cafe for a little stop and a hydration. Sorted. Diet Cokes. Thank you so much. I can't believe you didn't tell me my helmet's been on the wonk. No, it hasn't. No, it hasn't. Had it just shifted at the end? No, I'm rolling, by the way. I know, but it's important to me to raise this issue. Like, we need to tell each other when your helmet's like covering one eyebrow. Wonky. Maybe it was that last ascent. I didn't think it was wonky. How did you, Dave? I think I just have a wonky. I reckon you join your eyebrow wonky. I'm joking. I'm winding you up. I'm winding you up. I'm absolutely. I don't know if you like a bit of cake, but let's see, it was picnic cake. Picnic cake. What is picnic cake? What is it? I have no idea what picnic cake would be. Yeah, I don't really know. It looks coconutty. It does look coconutty, but yeah, if you're feeling up to that, have a little dig in. Oh well, thank you. It's one of my dog's hairs. Come on. Do you know what? I've had an eyebrow hair like that lately. And a forehead hair. You know when they come out your forehead? Have you had one of them? Not again. Forehead? No. What are you doing now? Not again. New angle, guys. We've come to the cafe and we're enjoying a little DC. Are we in? I think you're in. Quite nice, isn't it? It's beautiful. I can't actually believe how lucky we've been because it has chucked it down the last week. Yeah, I'm very lucky to have stolen you for a nice little ride on a Sunday morning. You have not started. You've given me the gift of being out on my bike in the sun for a couple of hours. Dreamy. It's been dreamy. Oh, well, you haven't been able to ride too much, have you? But yeah, let's go. I want to go back. So we kind of spoke about your journey. So you left, you did your studies, you went back into racing because Dad got you back in. He knew it's what you needed. Yeah, and then the career. Yeah, so I basically spent a year trying to get my foot in the door. I had kind of studied all elements of journalism, and I knew I wanted to be a broadcaster. Like, that was always a passion from a really young age. And I would turn on the TV and be like, that's what I want to do. Who did you look up to? Was there anyone that you were like? Kate Adie, war correspondent, who I actually recently met, and it was amazing. She was just everything I dreamed she'd be. I idolised her since I was about like 5 years old, watching like obviously the incredible things she did live on the BBC at a time where journalism was so important for truth and for knowing what was going on before we had
had everything that we do now. I didn't really know where it was going to go when I graduated, but I knew I needed to get a foot in the door somewhere, and so I applied to a lot of different publishing houses basically, and magazines, and I ended up working in women's magazines. So my first internship was with Heat magazine. More magazine, anyone that remembers that?
Heat Mag and More, free lip gloss.
So a little bit different to bikes. I was actually at a bike race, and I met a guy that said, I know a publisher who is crying out for a qualified writer that understands bike racing and that can turn around copy quickly, but also there were just no females in the industry.
Really?
So I think it, you know, whichever way you look at it, I think it made a difference that I was a woman who was qualified in journalism, who understood, and understood bike racing, and I think it was quite a rarity then. Happily it's not now, but it was. So I kind of saw that this could be a really massive opportunity to kind of get into what I really wanted to do and actually climb that ladder. So as much as I knew I was passionate about bikes, in the broader kind of journalistic media world, it was more that I actually saw an opportunity to kind of get further in my career actually, because I thought, well, cycling is such a niche that not everybody will do it. So I can probably see an avenue for me carving a career here where I might not be able to. I mean, let's face it, if you look, you know, if you want to be the editor of Vogue magazine,
good luck.
I mean, there's a lot of people in line. I think being able to carve that niche in cycling became a real sort of USP.
Amazing, and also obviously, you know, build in a woman's voice and perspective, I think is amazing, which is fab. There is obviously a lot more now, which is great, but pave the way. Pave the way, pal. You're carving. You really
paved the way, pal. I love that.
You
How lovely.
The way, pal. That's well nice.
There were other women at the time that I have to mention and thank, because it was a lonely world for a woman. It was very difficult to get your foot in the door. So I was very, very grateful, firstly, to have the opportunities that I did. There was a journalist called Bex Hopkins, who was a really brilliant downhill mountain biker, and she paved the way for a lot of people to come into the industry, and she really mentored me, and she was amazing. And then later on I worked with Hannah Reynolds, who was the fitness editor at Cycling Weekly, and she again had never really come across another female until she met me. So I think we became a little bit of a huddle of kind of supporting each other actually.
That's really nice. That's so nice. I was going to say, so you kind of touched on it, has there been many challenges in your career, like as you kind of, you know, you've carved out your space? Have you found there's been anything that's like been quite challenging being a female in the sports world and the cycling world in particular?
I think the perception massively, which again, you know, I do look around now and think it's a different world. It is absolutely a different world. But it was the perception of me, and it was trying to shape myself into what I thought I needed to look like and come across as in order to be taken seriously as a cycling expert and journalist. And I dressed very differently back then, because I thought there's only predominantly men in this room, and a lot of mountain bikers that would wear trainers and polo shirts and or branded t-shirts, and so if I walked in what I would deem my kind of style that I would feel really confident in wearing now, people, you'd almost get an eye roll, like, oh, here's this girl in a floral dress thinking she knows how to, you know, do bike mechanics or talk to us about how to ride, or, you know, because it was all that kind of expert content that I was doing at the time. So people would raise their eyebrows and say, do you really know what you're talking about? And my male counterparts didn't have that. Often because of the way you carry yourself and the way you appear. So I started changing the way I came across a lot. And that's why now I like to talk about it a lot, because it's so important to me that younger people or any person coming into this industry now doesn't feel like they need to change themselves to fit in. And
show up as your authentic self.
100% show up as you.
That's such a shame, isn't it? So did you feel that you were kind of like wearing more masculine clothes, and did you wear less makeup, all of that? Like, did you just
100%.
feel, oh gosh.
I used to wipe all my traces of makeup off, because I would wear makeup day to day, and then when I went to a bike race I would remove every bit of mascara, absolutely everything, because I felt that people would make a judgment on me and my ability on a bike, my knowledge about cycling based on how I looked, and so I definitely removed a lot of what I would deem quite feminine traits about myself.
And so, what have you absolutely loved about the bike life? What's your favourite thing about just the bike world?
That's such a big question because it's been everything to me. Like I did not, and it sounds so cheesy, but when I walked into that velodrome and my local track league at the age of 7, I couldn't have known that it would become my career, my extended friendship group, my support network, social media. Like I've got such a wonderful community of people that I would regularly reach out to on social media. It's all come from cycling. Absolutely every element of my life has been made better by bikes. And so I can't sort of praise cycling enough for that. And I think that is testament to where the sport is now, in that community exists for so many of us when perhaps it didn't in the past, and we didn't maybe always feel like we were welcomed in every angle, but I do feel like that's been available to me. And I think also, like, when I went through my first pregnancy and I documented that a lot, I found that the online community was huge.
If you haven't seen it, Rebecca's done an incredible YouTube series on the journey of being pregnant and riding through the different stages of the trimesters, I suppose, isn't it? And just having a nice outlet to talk and give advice and share that you can still ride your bike whilst pregnant, as we have been.
I have to credit my wonderful agent, Emma Wade. Emma Abel. She's just got married. And I'm sorry, Emma, I keep going back to your maiden name. But she came up with the name, so I have to credit her because it is genius.
It is fabulous. Tell us more about that. Like, obviously, it covers a lot about your kind of pregnancy journey and exercise. Why do you feel like that's important to share? Like, what?
Because I found like there was so much that I didn't feel armed with enough knowledge on. And I thought it was really important to get some medical backed evidence. I spoke to an amazing doctor who's now specialised sports doctor as well, Dr. Ralph Mitchell, who I just can't shout about enough, because not only is he used to be an obstetrician, he's got years and years of medical experience, but he also understands bike riding and to the highest sort of elite level. So he was able to really talk me through, well, what does a heart rate cap actually mean, and what is dangerous, and what actually should you be taking with a pinch of salt and be a bit more relaxed about. The reason I wanted to document it, back to your question, was because I couldn't find enough research myself. As somebody that wanted to stay active but didn't know what was safe, it's changed now, funnily enough. If you Google the NHS advice on exercise, it's completely different to what I screen grabbed and have to dig it out, but would have been, best part of 3 years ago now. The NHS advice was basically kind of don't do it, was the answer. Like,
sit down,
just rest and be careful.
No bumping and grinding.
No bumping and grinding, no bumping and riding. The overarching advice really in that series for anybody who's going through it and feels like they don't really have all the advice on hand is listen to your body. Again, it's ambiguous, it's hard, but I think that is what I really took from all the advice, was if you're in doubt, just don't push it. Don't feel like you've got to go out there and like absolutely hammer yourself, but equally don't be afraid of keeping your body moving and keeping active if you can. I know a lot of people go through different stages of pregnancy and they actually can't stay active, but it's so important to have that conversation, and if you're in doubt, ask somebody that does know. Don't sort of sit there worrying yourself, Googling things. There is a better wealth of advice out there now.
I've got to ask, amazing career, starting from the age of 7, which is unbelievable. The career.
I mean, I wasn't quite so professional at 7.
What have been your career highlights, or cycling highlights, however you want to answer that?
Yeah, I think it's actually a really easy answer, because last summer for me was just everything. I didn't know what it was going to look like having a baby, trying to come back very quickly to presenting and getting back in front of the camera and juggling, like having my daughter with me quite often. I didn't know how that was going to look, and so for me last summer was a culmination of so many kind of like personal proud kind of milestones in being back at work, but also it was the Glasgow Super Worlds, and I had the absolute privilege of being one of the TV hosts for it.
Amazing.
And I just loved absolutely every minute of it, and I think it coincided with the Tour de France FEMME MATTERS Zwift being, of course, on the calendar finally, thanks to all the wonderful people that have made that happen. Kate Verano, a good friend and colleague of mine at Zwift, has been so pivotal at making that happen, and so to kind of share in that and be there. So I was doing a podcast for Vox Women daily, so really in the mix zone, thick of the action, interviewing all the riders. So I feel like as a summer of sport and cycling specifically, it was just so wonderful for so many reasons. And I think we witnessed like Lotte Kopecky just coming in to the absolute form of her life, but as a sport, like we've never seen anything like it, have we? Winning on the velodrome, absolutely smashing it up the Tourmalet, and then coming in to the Worlds and doing what she did. I think she was just absolutely phenomenal. So for me, journalistically, as someone that got to report on that, that was really special. But as I say, it was also a time that I was navigating having a 1-year-old on the road with me at times, or kind of having to leave her for stints, and I was probably quite concerned about that. So to come back to what I love, and for my daughter to be at the World, so for me, like last summer and kind of just the last year has been amazing.
And what would you say have been some of the main challenges over your time, like within the cycling world, maybe within the industry that you work in? What do you think is still maybe slightly problematic, or you'd love to see further changes in?
I just think collectively we'd all like to see the women's side of cycling have that parity, and I know it's just easy to parrot the same, we want parity. What does that mean? What does it look like? I just want to keep bringing the women's side of the sport up, because it has come so far. But we were looking at headlines earlier this year of Demi Vollering being rumoured to be offered a very significant road contract in potentially moving teams at the time, and it was the first time I feel like that was on the agenda when we're talking about women making major team transfers, talking about money, we're talking about what offers are on the table. That's a conversation I feel like we haven't had in women's cycling. You know, only recently we're looking at the likes of minimum wages for the females in pro cycling, and it's great that all these things are now on the agenda, but they're not matching the men's yet. So there are races that, of course, you know, I remember the year that the women's tour said, right, why not? We're going to bring on a title sponsor in Over Energy, and we're going to match the prize fund of the men's tour of Britain, because we absolutely should be, and we can, and we're going to do it. And so we are seeing these things happen now, and there's brilliant people pushing for it, but we just want to get to the point where these household names are deserving, you know, their basically financial reward and their recognition is that of the men's peloton.
Well, Rebecca,
Continuity error.
She's getting her glasses out.
Seamless.
Thank you so much for your time and for the incredible ride around Grisdale. It's been beautiful. Grisdale.
I think it's Grisdale, but we'll freestyle it. It's been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your answers or your chat. It's been enlightening, and if you like what you see, subscribe.